Hey, this is Joshua Zeller with New Review, coming at you with a new review on the TBS TV series Wrecked. Wrecked is the parody of the 2004 series Lost, following a group of survivors from a plane crash on an island and the wacky hijinks that follow. Because again, it is a spoof on Lost. Lost was a drama. This is a comedy, which is something that TBS is known much more for than serious, hard-hitting dramas. Um, which is good because if they did another drama like Lost, people would probably get bored real fast. Anyways, like I said, Lost follows the survivors of a plane crash, um, and the series has actually been quite interesting. It's looked at the survival strategies that have come up, um, and I did see a good portion of Lost, and the format that they follow is actually pretty similar. They kind of follow a main character from the main cast and then do a flashback. Or they start out with a flashback, or they start with the main character. It depends on the episode, and then they do a flashback, and then they go to the main character, follow the story, and then do a flashback and kind of explain how the character is who they are and why they're that way. Um, and it really did get us prepared to understand the turns the first season made, with Danny wanting to prove himself worthy of his father's love, of Steve's kind of need for people to like him, and why he ultimately became a crazy dictator. Steve? Steve, yeah. Um, of Owen wanting to kind of like just do his own thing. Um, because ultimately the entire series is trying to um, do what Lost did, but do it in a much different way, and I think it's doing a very good job of it. So last season, we ended with pirates coming to the island after the coup against Steve, because everyone at this point wanted to leave the island, and Steve and some people wanted to stay, because for Steve, the world that he was in was a lot better for him. For Karen, she was actually able to be who she was. Um, and for a lot of other characters who were background characters, it's either go with Steve or die. And a lot of them, and a few of them, on top of Karen and Steve, decided we're going to keep going with you even though our life isn't better. But mostly it's just because they're background characters and can't just have Steve and Karen in a hole in the ground by themselves. But yeah, anyways, it turns out Danny actually is rich. Well, actually, his dad is rich. And pirates come to collect on the bounty, to collect him so they can get a ransom, so they can have a huge payday at the end. And the second season starts out with a 2 episode opening. Um, and instead of doing a flashback, it goes between current events on the mainland of America and current events on the island. And in the main events, in the events on the states, Danny's dad dies, and it turns out his sister did it to get the money. And she starts out as a sympathetic character who's concerned for Danny, concerned for her dad, sad that her dad died, sad that Danny's disappeared, still hopefully he's alive. And then it turns out at the end she just wanted the money, killed her dad, tried to, she poisoned him. He ran into an electrical thing with a golf cart and it blew up, which is kind of entertaining if you think about it in a really messed up way. Um, and says that she's not going to pay the ransom. She's not. She's going to act like Danny's dead, because if Danny's alive, she doesn't get all of the money. And human greed is very much a theme from Lost that was a lot more present. And I think it's starting from the beginning, and I think it's starting to become a lot more present currently in the series. So that's this season in the series, and that's a really interesting development that I think could be played with, because the pirates, like I said, wanted a payout. They're not going to get the payout from Danny's family, so they're going to find that payout one way or another. Um, Second episode of the season follows Pac, who wasn't really followed that much outside of his cannibalism storyline from the first season, and this season we kind of this episode we kind of figure out where a part of his personality came from, why he is the way he is, and by the end of the episode, he's figured out I don't have to be this liar person. I just need to be honest, and I need to just say it like it is. And that really does help because he really does get the pirates to calm down a bit, not be as righteous and obnoxious as it's been, so that everyone can get some sleep and food, because that wasn't really an option when the pirates were playing their music loud and being really righteous. Um, and that was really a really good storyline for Pac. Um, Additionally, Steve and Danny are trying to come to grips with things that they've done on the island or things that have happened to them over the last couple of episodes. Steve, for instance, killed a guy, and he was really sad about it. Then it turns out the guy that he killed was a Nazi, which was a really interesting storyline that I think could have been explored last season, but it didn't. The character that he killed, his name was Kurt Hole, so the comedy of that name was really explored last season instead of possibility of being a Nazi. Which either way, it's fine. Um, and the second episode, there's not. And the first episode, there's not really flashbacks. Like I said, second episode, it's flashbacks with Danny with Pac and how he came to be into being. Third episode, there aren't really a lot of flashbacks. It's mostly the two main storylines is an argument over whether or not Flo is capable of surviving or being a functioning member of the community, uh, and whether or not they should wait to see Game of Thrones when they get off the island instead of having the most recent season told to them by the pirates. Um, so with the Flo storyline, she it's really revealed that wanting to help fix the problem of lack of fresh, clean drinking water is kind of guilt over her friend um, Emma apparently dying um, because she was really sick. She tried to get her off the island last season, tried to get her help. They end up getting split up, and it's apparent that and it's implied that she's dead now. With the pirate ship, that may be changed, and with the fact that she's still listed as an actor on it, that may change by the end of the season. Who knows? Um, and she really comes to into her own because she helps Karen kill a caiman. Um, Not only as being bait, but actually taking part in the stabbing of the animal with a weapon, which was really graphic and really comedic in a lot of senses. And they bring back the caiman as food, and they bring back fresh water, which is a really nice end to her storyline. Now, with the storyline with the Game of Thrones spoiling, a lot of it is the argument is we're going to get off the island, we can see it then, or we're never going to get off the island, we might as well have it spoiled. And that's really like an argument, however much comedy there was in it, there was really an argument of realism versus idealism or hope. And it seemed that the realism kind of won out in that everyone got Game of Thrones season 7 told to them. And there was this really, really interesting montage from the beginning when Jon Snow is first reappeared on the screen to the end when Dany leaves for Westeros, which obviously they couldn't really tell because of copyright laws. But a lot of the images were really interesting and really graphic, visually stunning. There are parts that I'm not sure were actually in the season, but again, copyright may have played a part in it. Um, and by the end, it was a really, really great culmination of all the storylines. There's Another side plot of Steve becoming the lover of the leader of the pirates. Kind of want to see how that storyline goes throughout the rest of the season. The nature of Wrecked seems to be a combination of serial and episodic, so that's a really interesting framework as well. So we'll just have to see how this season goes and see where the comedy goes. This is Joshua with New Review on TBS's Wrecked, signing off.